Hey, welcome to another episode of Monday Night Therapy. I'm John. Todd's here, and I'm
You got
here.
it.
Well, Todd, you came to the Twin Cities and watched a Nebraska game.
I should have asked during our prep a little bit. Do you have by any chance photos of you and me from our weekend up there loaded up?
No, I didn't.
Shucks.
Well, I could do that.
We could do a little bit of an advertisement to our new friends at FOCO. Yeah, hey, I was up in the Twin Cities. Actually, I think last week when we did the podcast, I was in Duluth, but basically was in the Twin Cities from Tuesday on, and at the ball game. We're gonna dissect the whole thing here in a little bit, but I'm gonna tell you guys, and I'm not that I'm the world's greatest expert here, but if you ever have a chance to go up to the University of Minnesota and watch a football game in that stadium, your experience is going to be very positive. Yeah, they had a sellout. Yeah, it was only 54,000. Yeah, we had almost twice as many people at a volleyball game in Memorial Stadium. But in terms of a place to watch a football game and enjoy yourself at a game, I've been in a lot of college stadiums, and I've not been in a better place than the stadium that the Gophers play in. So, those of you that have ambitions of getting out and watching Nebraska play on the road and getting to see different places, you put that one towards the top of your list, because that's just an awesome experience.
It was fun, except for like 5 minutes of it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll load a couple of these up.
Well, it sure was.
It was nice to see just unbelievable crap tons of Husker fans out and about. And it was a good time. It was a blast.
Well, John and I, we started our day downtown in Minneapolis, and John, John is recognizable everywhere. He had people coming up. He had young girls handing him panties, older women giving him bras. It was just insanity. But he was, we were at a place called Lions Pub downtown, and John spoke on a podcast there with a bunch of Nebraska guys. And then we went out to St. Paul, and my wife was the babysitter. She was in charge of us making sure we got from point A to point B and we didn't get arrested. And we were at a little corner bar out in St. Paul called Shamrocks with the Minnesotans for Nebraska. I met one of my childhood heroes there. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. My everlasting admiration. If anybody, first person that tells me who that gentleman is in the black on the chat. Come on. Who is that?
There's probably, I think, well, okay. Nobody's got it yet.
Nobody's got it. Where's Fred Sacco?
Maybe he's not here. Maybe you should have waited a little bit to show it off.
There you go, Roger Moore. Oh, no, Fred did come in. Fred just hit him. That's the Baron. Absolutely. Jim Raschke, former All-American wrestler at Nebraska, was at Shamrocks for the Minnesotans for Nebraska gathering ahead of time. And I used to, that could be a whole episode about, growing up during that era with Baron von Raschke. Oh, yep. There we are. How do you folks like those overalls? How about those, huh? We're looking pretty good, I think.
I have never worn any. The thing about that is Minnesota fans, Minnesota students in particular, wear overalls to the game probably more than any other fan base I've ever seen. And on my way into the stadium, I had all the tickets and they weren't shareable for some reason in the wallet. And I had to send screenshots to my family, but somebody at security said, no, you can't do that. and then everybody got in on screenshots anyway. But while I was waiting, the Minnesota students started coming up to me because I had overalls on and taking my picture with them, and it was a good time. It was a lot of fun. And then I don't know, I know what happened. We all know what happened in Minnesota. Here's the thing: I was really shocked, honestly, that Nebraska held the lead as long as they did. When it was 3-0 at half, I thought, wow, this is really some ugly, crappy looking football. But Nebraska's defense was playing very, very well. And, when we came out in the beginning of the second half, and we scored that touchdown, the Minnesota fans went very quiet, and they were very quiet for a long time. And I was like, holy shit. Ethan Kalairakis, Ethan K for Minnesota, the quarterback. I think he's going to be a good quarterback, but he did not play well. And, Jeff Sims threw 3 interceptions, and, that cost us the game. Realistically, it did. Anthony Grant's fumble again.
Yeah, well, and I'll tell you what, Ted Hilker, he puts in here, if Sims has to run the ball 19 times, at least change the blocking schemes to protect him, LOL. Well, Ted, that's something I had that thought actually in the first quarter already. I thought that everything I'd read, the quarterback run game was not going to be a major part of the offense this year. Jeff Sims has been sold to us as a mobile quarterback, and a guy who was going to throw the ball downfield. But man, he ran the ball a lot more than what I anticipated. So I hope we don't see that. I hope I hope we see more running backs running the football. That I'll just leave that than what we saw up there. But John, to your point, the defense played well throughout the entire game. A lot of people are disgruntled right now. We've heard a lot of people saying that this is no different than what it's been in the last few years. A national pundit even said, did Scott Frost show up to coach the fourth quarter? There's a lot of that going on. And, I'm not going to try to blow any shit up anybody's ass here. But the defense is a solid defense. The defense played well. This is a better defense, a better schemed defense, a more aggressive attacking defense than what we've seen. When we held Minnesota to less than 100 yards rushing, substantially less, that's a victory for the defense. And we're not talking about bullshit victories here, but the defense showed up and played well. They had good coverage most of the game until the final minute of the game. So we didn't see a defense like this last year. Special teams, definitely a step up. Definitely a step up from what we've seen recently. So, folks, let's not say that's the same old. Yeah, getting beat by less than one score, we're all sick and tired of that. But this is not the same old.
Fongwei Reldman says more filthy language. See ya. I mean, you show up. What the hell do you expect is going to happen here, man? He's left some comments on language. I don't know. Probably some fucking guy said some filthy fucking language. Son of a bitch. Anyway, where were you at? It was different. Special teams actually contributed to the game. That was completely different. I mean, the interesting thing was this. I don't think either team took a fair catch on a kickoff, and certainly Nebraska's Matt Rule said that they were not going to fair catch on kickoffs. And when you have 2 Johnsons in the backfield, they're ready to field the kicks. I'm ready to go with that. And then who was it? The short guy, Billy Kemp. Was that it? The punt returner?
Yeah.
Actually fielded punts and actually gained return yardage on a couple of them. So, I mean, that whole special teams thing was, that's completely different. Obviously the outcome wasn't. It was just unfortunate, and the thing is I guess, Minnesota made some plays and Nebraska didn't make didn't keep control of the ball the way they should. And I know everybody out there in social media is ripping Jeff Sims apart. 300. Put it this way, I've seen comments to the effect that Matt Rule lied to us about Jeff Sims, and I think that's a little harsh. I mean, it's not like Matt Rule said, "Hey, go out there and throw 3 interceptions, Jeff." And then Jeff did, especially that one in the end zone, which was, I don't know. I don't know what he was looking at. He's got to look around more. But
yeah,
if you notice,
it wasn't a sterling performance by Jeff Sims, and we're going to have to hope he improves. And if he doesn't, then next guy up. We're going to have to see better decision making at the quarterback position. We're going to have to see receivers get some separation and be able to make some plays.
I'm going to take some comment. My English is really not very good tonight. Brian Hula says, get a CornNation logo on those coveralls and I'm in. I'll look into that. Let's see. Brangus McGee says, John, you could do your next video from your closet. If we win, you can come out. If we lose, you can close the door. I thought about this today because this morning's video by the tree, I thought about actually trying to do it under a bed, to make fun of everybody that's afraid of playing Colorado because, I don't know, because I like jabbing things at people. What the hell? And I looked at trying to get under a bed, and it's a hell of a lot harder than it looks. And the TVs where, you're running into a room to escape some guy with a gun, and you just jump under the bed. And there's things under my bed that probably haven't been moved for 15, 20 years. And, if I move them, it'd probably be like the equivalent of releasing some virus on humanity that doesn't need it.
Well, John,
Linda Wilkins.
We do bill this as therapy, John. So Linda is reaching out to you. Linda here. Linda Wilkins says, help me, John. I am trapped in this Groundhog Day.
Well, the good news is that we have Colorado coming up. And from everybody out there, we're going to lose by many, many people out there. We're going to lose by at least 20, 30, 40 points. So it wouldn't be a 1-score loss. That will be different than Groundhog Day for you, Linda. And maybe, although the line is Colorado was favored by 3 today when I put that out?
That's what I saw was 3.
Yeah. Let's see here. Linda also says IGC out for the year. Isaiah Garcia Castaneda had torn an ACL when he was hitting a leg at Minnesota. So Nebraska loses a receiver, which means that the receiving core is, I don't want to say dire. Is it dire, Todd?
I don't think it's dire because I really don't know what we have. Castaneda's I don't know what to, I guess I don't really have anything to say about Castaneda's. I mean, he caught a touchdown last year, then he basically disappeared. He walked away from the team. Matt Rule believed he had, enough talent to let him back on the team. You don't want to see any of those guys knocked out because we are pretty thin with the wide receivers. But it appears to me that some of those freshmen are going to have to make some big gains in the next few weeks. We're going to have to get some contributions from the freshman wide receivers.
Well, I think this disturbing thing about the receiving core at the Minnesota game is nobody really separated themselves much. Nobody got open very much.
I mean, they didn't. And, I heard people complaining about Jeff Sims staring down receivers. And, maybe he did. You can tell that, folks, you guys watched the game on television. You saw things a lot better than what I could in the stadium. And maybe Sims was staring down receivers. But I can tell you from, the bird's eye perspective that I had, our receivers were not getting open. They were not getting open. So that's something that's going to have to be fixed.
Dalton Rabe says, did you want to put
No, you go ahead. Go ahead. No, go back to Dalton. Sorry.
Dalton Rabe says, but this might sound crazy, but do we need to take an Iowa approach to the team this year and just hold on to the ball and cross our fingers that the defense can bail us out? I don't think it's a matter of necessarily taking an Iowa approach completely, but I do think that Nebraska is going to win more of their games if they do take a control the possessions approach to this, extend possessions. I'm going to put this up. I think I put this in here. Commercials. Look at this graphic that some guy. Let me hide the tweet. If you're listening to this on the podcast, what a guy broke down the TCU Colorado broadcast, and he says game length 3 hours 36 minutes 42 seconds, 49 minutes 27 seconds of that's were ads, 25 ad breaks, and in the first and second quarter there was a stretch of 117 in the game that had 9 minutes and 30 seconds of ads. And then he goes on to say approximate mentions of Deion Sanders, 56, Sonny Dykes, the head coach of TCU, 10. So here's what's happening. I don't know if nuts. I don't know if anybody saw Chip Kelly's comment at his game where he said, with the new clock rules, this is nuts. They're running the clock after first downs. So the games are shortened, but the games aren't really shortened. They're just adding more commercials because that's, the TV people are in charge. The possessions are becoming much shorter. In other words, You're getting much fewer snaps. Teams are getting much fewer snaps. So if that's how we're going to play football, I think that, Nebraska could do well to just hold the ball.
Well, Nebraska,
especially against a team like Colorado.
Nebraska is huddling this year. And let's take a step back to Thursday night. Nebraska had one possession in the first quarter. Nebraska is, in some respects, they're slowing the game down. And playing against Colorado, I mean, you had two teams that scored over 40 points. That was a flipping track meet. That's the kind of football a lot of us have been watching on television the last few years. And if Nebraska wants to be successful, I think they need to keep the ball away from Colorado. And you're going to do that by huddling up, by running the ball, by keeping possession of the ball. And, if you want to call that the Iowa way, okay, call it the Iowa way. I feel a little bit insulted by that. But, controlling the football, I think, is going to be the difference for Nebraska having some success, particularly against this Colorado team. We'll talk about Colorado here in a little bit. I don't want to give those mothers a whole lot of attention.
Well, good grief, man. MK says, should that have been a TD at the end of the first half? And was it mass confusion in the stadium when the refs were trying to figure it out? Nobody in the stadium had a clue as to what was going on.
No, in the stadium,
literally nothing.
We were relying upon what people were tweeting and texting from outside the stadium. From inside the stadium, you couldn't tell if he got over the goal line. What was confusing in the stadium is that, then they ran the next play and there was illegal procedure, and then Nebraska challenged the previous play. So the confusion in the stadium, and even the people running the video board were confused. They kept showing the replays of the illegal procedure play, not the one that they were actually reviewing. So, my friends that were communicating, they said it was a touchdown, that the people on TV were saying it was a touchdown. We couldn't tell in the stadium.
Yeah, it was mass confusion. All right, let's see here. Red Wine 65 says, I'd like to see Purdy as QB and Sims as running back. We have to be able to throw some and not interceptions. I am guessing that we're going to find out at Colorado. We're going to have to throw the ball some to beat Colorado. I mean, you can't just let them load the box. You're going to have some, what they're called constraint plays, like those plays that everybody hated, where they do those wide receiver screens, those bubble screens out on the edge. A lot of those are constraint plays. And what they are is specifically to keep a defense honest and crowding the line, to keep them from crowding the line. Fred Sacco says, John has been irrationally rational. It's kind of scary. I like to keep my cool when everybody else is losing their heads. Keep my head when everybody else is losing theirs.
And you've done an increasingly better job of that over the years, John, I'd have to say. I'd have to say. Don Trey pops in. Nebraska needs to stand up, bruh themselves off, and maybe that's brush themselves off and start all over again and whip the Buffaloes. I'm all for that, Don. And I still think, I think that on Sunday we're all going to wake up and Nebraska is going to be 1-1 on the season. I think that this is a game that Nebraska is going to win.
Well, hold on. We got, I want to say that this guy is saying Jeff Sims is trash. I want to, from King Tony Titan 45 channel, which is a hell of a name. I want to say that guy is a Colorado fan, which is fine. You know, we welcome everybody here. That's okay. We can smack talk. Daniel Scott comes in, and we're already jumping ahead, aren't we?
Well,
I should star these. We'll come back to that. Go ahead.
Well, you know, John, I want your take on this. We kind of already talked a little bit about this, but I want you to share your thoughts here with the folks that have joined us tonight. You know, we have heard quite a few people, and we even heard people right after the game that were ready to, you know, show the door to Matt Rule. We heard people on the shuttle going back saying things like, you know, he lied to us. You know, he was saying all of this stuff about how good the team was, and that's not what we saw. And then, John, you had a statement that you made. What would we have rather heard? You know, what would we want Matt Rule to have said? And, you know, so can you expound on that a little bit?
Okay, every offseason of our existence since sports started having a 24/7 channel, you know, sports cycle, it's basic. There's a phrase for it, calling drinking the Kool-Aid, for God's sakes. The newspapers and everybody, they put out fluff piece after fluff piece after fluff piece after fluff piece. That's what it is. I honestly thought that people are used to this enough that they don't take a lot of that stuff seriously. Because what is a coach supposed to say about his players? Our offensive line sucks. Do you really want that out there in public? Is that what he's supposed to say? That's what I don't get, is what do you want the coach to say? He said Jeff Sims was playing better. It's been one game. He played a horrible game, and he did. I think pretty much Jeff Sims is aware of that. He's going to be our quarterback going forward, I would guess. And we'll have to hope that he plays better against Colorado and everybody else going forward. But looking back at the offseason, I guess that's what shocks me is, come on, you guys. Look at me. I'm old and crusty. I read these articles, and sometimes, you know, I look at them and go, okay, that's nice. He mentioned that guy. He's supposed to, you know, he mentioned guys in practice because, you know, it gives them you got into the paper. I noticed you. That's what that is. It's not like, oh my God, that when somebody says that kid might be the best linebacker I've ever coached and it's spring, do you really believe that's the best linebacker he's ever coached if he's been coaching for 20 years? Because if you do, you know, I can't help you there. That's just what they do. That's what the offseason is for. It's for fluffing up your team. Is that a porn term?
You know, and you know, to build on that a little bit, John, Deion Pryor pops up and says Sims isn't going to suddenly get better at throwing less interceptions. Jeff Sims threw interceptions at Georgia Tech. I mean, Jeff Sims he's going to try to force the ball into, and we could tell that in the stadium. Every one of those interceptions that he threw, he tried to throw it into a very tight space. You know, and hopefully Deion, what he does learn to do is to make better decisions and recognize it's easier to throw the ball away than to try to force it into one of those spots.
Oh, okay. Jack the Ripper. Well, we said we'd get to that in a bit. Let's move on. So are we ready to move on? Are we done with what else we got?
Well, here's something else that, you know, that has bothered me. And you know what? I'm glad we have the audience that we have here. You know, we haven't we haven't seen a whole lot of comments here that are the same as what we've seen in some aspects of social media. So I'm glad to hear that. But the whole thing that this is Frost 2.0, and complaining about rule. Here's a question I would like to throw out to you.
To me or the commenters?
In year one and indefinitely in year two, we heard the former guy continuing to trash Mike Riley.
Yeah.
And he was very direct about it. And sometimes he was a little bit more subtle about it. But anytime you heard the former guy talking about reestablishing culture, rebuilding culture, that was a slam at Mike Riley. And he went on and he continued to complain and whine and bitch about how far the program had fallen. So I would like to propose to you this question. Is Matt Rule having to do the same thing? Did Scott Frost leave the program worse than what he found it? And I would argue yes. And so let's not think that Matt Rule walked in here and all of a sudden, he had this strong foundation that we would expect, Nebraska to be kicking ass and taking names. Now, we can argue all we want to about Deion Sanders bringing in 68 new recruits and being able to, in this day and age, pull them together and have a big win in the first week. But I guess my take on this is let's be a little bit cautious about running Matt Rule up the flagpole.
Yeah, I mean, he specifically said he wasn't going to trash the last guy. And not only did Frost come in and start bashing all the Riley people, he wanted everybody fired that was associated with Riley in the athletic department. So, I have heard none of that stuff with Matt Rule. So, I don't know. I tend to think people do this in management. Certainly politicians do this. Management does as a style of management, It's so much as that it's a part of a joke. But I think people that do that are pretty classless myself. But okay. Should we move on now? We're almost at halfway through. Let's go on to Colorado.
Here, I'm going to throw this one. You can respond to this one, John.
All right, King Tony Titan 45 channel. What the hell is that, King Tony Titan? How are you going to score 24 points with no offense? Well, we're going to intercept Shadir Sanders 4 times and take him back for pick sixes. That would be more than 24 points. There you go. There's an answer, son of a bitch. What do you think of that? Bone-led corn-fed says, I hear Harburg will be used in many ways. That sounds kind of kinky, but I hope the many ways means catching the ball for positive yards, running the ball for positive yards, and possibly even throwing the ball for positive yards. But I would like Heinrich Harburg was on the field as a receiver, right?
Yep,
he was. Reception. Yeah. There. I would like them to get him on the field, and we'll see what happens against the Buffs, the mighty Buffs. Jack the Ripper said Sims threw into coverage because he had no choice. I don't think he did on the touchdown. I think Thomas Fidone was wide open as a tight end in the end zone, and he didn't see him, and he threw an ill-fated pass. That's what we call that, an ill-fated pass to the guy who wasn't wearing the same color as the guys he wanted to catch the ball. Red Wine 65 says 49 minutes. How about quality commercials and less quantity?
I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
I have been watching. I watched some other games. I watched a lot of football this weekend. And I got to tell you, when you're watching TV and they're showing you commercials and you see, like, here's the shows. The Golden Bachelor, which apparently is a guy who's over 50 as the Bachelor.
From Iowa. From Iowa.
Oh, okay. Well, good luck to that guy. Big strike against him right there. I was going to say something else, but that was really nasty. I mean, the Bachelor, the Voice, is it? The singer and the Masked Singer. There's another one, the Regular Voice. Then there are all these shows that I don't watch. I assume somebody watches. I assume there's enough viewership to have them on the air continually because they keep having spinoffs. Paradise Island or some damn thing. I'm falling in love with you. Oh, I can't believe it. That's what sports is competing with, for God's sakes. That's why they keep shoving more commercials into sports, is because you know damn well they're getting paid more per commercial spot in the Florida State LSU game than they are for a commercial during The Bachelor. Okay? I don't know how many people watch The Bachelor, but I can't imagine it's the same number of people that watch Florida State beat the living shit out of LSU last night. So it's not just that you're showing a commercial. It's that there's a value. It's like a click to rate or something. I don't know what it's called, but it's like a value of the commercials in this time slot with this content is much higher. It's got to be much higher for live sports. And that's why they're shoving this shit down our throats.
Well, I'll tell you what, John, it's a hell of a lot easier to watch the game on television with that time passing with those commercials than it is sitting in the damn stadium. Holy moly. It seemed like, forever while they were taking those times.
Oh my
out.
God, it was like being in an NFL game.
Yeah,
Stephen Dunning says, I didn't see anybody calling for Rule's job. I didn't see people directly saying that, but I saw a lot of people saying we hired the wrong coach. We should have hired Deion Sanders. I wish we would have hired
Urban Meyer.
So it wasn't fire Matt Rule. It was, I wanted that other guy, which is why I made fun of him in the video I did today. Wait, I thought I hid that. Tony Washland, always butchering his name, says, hit the like button. If you could, you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like button so that YouTube likes us more. Thank you, Tony, for that reminder. And subscribe, tell your friends, tell their dogs, let's see, there's that one. Daniel Scott says, is Shadir Sanders a first-round draft pick? He looked good. I'll be honest with you. I mean, Colorado shocked me. They did. They looked really good on offense. Their defense really wasn't exist. But is Shadir Sanders a first-round pick? Yeah, he's played one game at the Division I level, and he played against a defense that was clearly either A, not very good, or B, not prepared at all for anything that they were going to face from Colorado. So, the good thing is that Colorado showed what they're capable of and what they're going to do on offense. And Nebraska isn't the first one that gets blistered by that stuff. So,
and Sonny Dykes even said in his post-game comments, they were not prepared at all for what Colorado did. And, don't forget for a minute that while TCU played in the national championship game last year, they got destroyed by Georgia in that game. And then the other thing is that they have very few returning players off of that team last year. So, I'm not saying that Colorado didn't play well, and I'm not saying that wasn't a big win for the Buffs, but I'm not overly concerned about that. Jack the Ripper said you are smoking the Colorado weed if you think NU will beat the Buffs. Dead meat. Well, I don't do weed in Colorado or in Nebraska, but I think Nebraska's going to win, and we can discuss that later.
Yeah, Jack. And if I was going to do weed, I sure as hell wasn't smoking it, because they get, it's legal now in Minnesota, and you can just go buy gummy bears. I don't know why anybody would smoke that shit anymore, other than they're like 62-year-old hippies. That's older than me, and they've just been doing it for a long time. Los Lobos says, too late to take back the bumbling mistake of getting rid of Solich. Blew it. My God, man. It's been a long time. Move on, buddy.
Fred Sacco fires back and says, oh, God, if a coach loses at any point, he must be lying. Then, geez, I'm an irrational prick. But that's just nonsense. First damn game, leeway. Yep. I'm with you, Fred. I'm with you there.
And then, Ken, there's this guy, King Tony Titan 45 channel. You're judging your defense off of Minnesota. I don't think Minnesota's offense is better, maybe, than Colorado's with all that wing zinging going on. But I think that, Minnesota's defense is a hell of a lot better than TCU's. I will say that. There's a lot of comments, Todd. Have you been following the live ones?
I'm trying to get caught up. Here's one from Mark Stepanik that I think is relevant. What was Grant doing in the game in the situation when Rule even said he had issues securing the ball. Rule did this to himself. He's getting 5 years or 3 years, but the red flags are more than obvious. To be honest with you, I'll attack the first part of this, Mark. We were wondering where Gabe Ervin was. We'd heard all about, Gabe Ervin during the preseason. And, I've said on this podcast and in other places that I'm a Gabe Ervin fan. I was really looking forward to him. I thought he was the kind of running back that could make a difference for this team. And when we didn't see him very much in that game, and we saw a heck of a lot of Grant, I was confused myself.
You know what? Matt Rule did actually answer that question.
Yeah.
He said that Anthony Grant in that specific play had been executing that play much better than the other backs, and that's the reason why he was in on that play, which kind of gives you an indication that they're very, they have everything like down in notebooks and which guys are supposed to be in which plays and everything like that. And that sounds pretty fancy, Todd. You read that. Pronounce that guy's name. These people are making up these names just to fuck with us.
Now he's going to make me put on my dog. Joe Higashi, legit leg kick, says, but I think Matt Rule is getting karma for screwing over Terry Bridgewater. Is it Terry or Teddy? Teddy Bridgewater, maybe.
Oh, was that in the pros?
Yeah, must have been with Carolina. But we'll go back to Joe here at CornNation. If you're true homers, I say you guys make a joke back on the Colorado game. Put your money where your mouth is. No, yeah, I'll put my money where my mouth is. John will shovel snow for Deion Sanders all winter if they beat Nebraska. There you go. There's my joke bet.
So you want me dead?
I'm not.
Have you ever heard of a Met score? Have you? This is my chance. This is my chance to do advocacy or something. Have you ever heard of a Met score, Todd? METS.
METS, a Met score?
No. Met score. It has to do with a metabolic energy of the amount of work it takes to do certain tasks. Like as a heart attack survivor, I think my Met score is around 4.2. Which means I can have sex, thank God, but I cannot shovel snow because a Met score of 6 is required. I think it is for shoveling snow. I can mow the lawn, but the Met score actually, what they do is they get you in cardiac rehab and they give you a Met score and they say, here's a table that shows you all of the activities you can and cannot do depending upon how healthy your heart is.
Okay, so I'll amend my bet. John will not go to Colorado and shovel snow for Deion Sanders, but he will have sex with it.
So, oh my God, let's move on. What the hell? I don't even think Dion would be interested in that.
Aaron Kine says it's not Frost 2.0, but the bad habits of finding a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory is just a heartbreaker week in and week out. Aaron, I don't disagree with you on that. And frustrating. You're not going to win football games with 4 turnovers. You cannot win games when you turn the ball over 4 times. You cannot win games when your offensive line has illegal procedure calls 2, 3, 4 times a game. So the penalty part of this, that lack of discipline, that was my biggest disappointment in the game. Matt Rule, the Kool-Aid that I drank from Matt Rule was that we would have a more disciplined football team. And we did not see that on the offensive side of the ball Thursday night.
That there are a number of what do you call those people? Colorado fans. What the hell? Did you people just become Colorado fans like after the game? Were you Colorado fans before that? Don't lie, you sons of bitches. You weren't fans until Colorado went out and beat TCU, were you? Guys that are showing up. Okay, David Weiss or Weiss, people I know with that last name pronounce it Weiss, says, I can't wait to show up to this next week if Shadir drops 5 touchdowns again. You know what? I am always a firm believer that if you dish it out, you should be able to take it. So if he does show up again, and you can make fun of us, that's how shit happens, or that's how things go. Let's see. Okay, Colorado.
Oh, here's one more I want you to comment on.
Mr. Raj48 says, did you see that Thompson and Smothers, both starters, had good games and that their teams won? Casey threw 5 TDs and Smothers was 13-17 with 1 TD. And there was a lot of people that mentioned, we'd have won this game with Casey Thompson. And I don't think that's true. I think that here's what I've heard about the Casey Thompson versus Jeff Sims thing. Matt Rule looked at him and he knew that he was only going to keep or have one because, both of them wanted nil money. And basically he said to himself, I don't think Casey Thompson's going to make it through a season healthy. So that will leave me without a quarterback at the top, and I'm going to pick Jeff Sims, and that's how it goes. Now, again, well, good for both Casey Thompson and Logan Smothers, number one. And number two, I looked at the comment, and I see this son of a bitch posting, you suck corn. Lax Boy 00 says, you suck corn. I don't know what that means, Todd. It threw me completely off. I'm happy for those guys that they had good games.
Well, this is no, John, hold on, you're too late. We're moving to the new section of our show. This part of our show is called "We Used to Be Cornhuskers," and the "We Used to Be Cornhuskers" that I'm going to draw attention to this week are Benjamin Bramer from Pierce, Nebraska, who caught his first touchdown of his college career while playing for the Iowa State Cyclones, and then Chase Cervantes, who kicked a 55-yard field goal. So those are the outstanding performers of the "We Used to Be Cornhuskers." Okay, John, go ahead. You can continue with your portion of the show.
Nadia Price says Nebraska doesn't stand a chance. And another one of those Colorado fans that just became a Colorado fan 2 days ago. When she probably saw the score on a television after the game. That's who these people are. That's who these people are. Then King Tony's coming back with, they all mad. They should, Nebraska sucks. That's not good English, man. Okay. Colorado. I'll be honest with you. I thought Colorado was going to be a joke, and they came out, and their offense is very dynamic. Shadir Sanders looked very good as a quarterback. I don't think he's first round good, but he's only played one game at the Division I level. And Travis Hunter played like you know what? He played like a Heisman Trophy candidate, and he probably should be if he can keep this up all season, but I don't think he can. Just because the wear of the tear of the season is going to get to you after a while if you're playing both receiver and I think he's playing corner on defense. He did have an incredible game. He played over 100 snaps. He saved the game for Colorado by making a interception, I think, in the end zone. They have some players. I don't think they have players on their lines. And I said in the video by the tree I made this morning that this has a Bobby Petrino vibe to it. And what I meant by that was Bobby Petrino is a coach who loves offense. He's the offensive coordinator at Texas A&M. He's not a head coach, but he would have teams that could score a lot and have fantastic offensive players, but he never had any defense on his teams whatsoever. So I have to wonder, if Colorado moves to the Big 12, then they're going to win a lot because that's the entire description of the Big 12. Another thing happened this weekend that was interesting, and I think the Pac-12 won all their games. Did you see that?
Yeah, they did.
They're going to be a dead conference, but they won them all. I'm sure that they didn't play like, Alabama, but, Stanford had a really tough matchup with Hawaii on the island.
Well, here's the deal. Deion Sanders brought in 68 new players. He brought in some really talented players. TCU is not the team they once were. There are going to be problems for Nebraska. They're going to go out there. They're going to play at altitude. But, we'll see. We'll see. And, if Colorado wins, that's 3 in a row that they've got over Nebraska. If Nebraska wins, which I'm expecting that they're going to do, then, the whole spotlight that's been, glaring on Deion Sanders and what he's doing at Colorado, that's going to dim. And we'll see how it goes. But, folks, we're one game into the season. So, it is what it is. For those people out there, including Keyshawn and some of those other people that are thinking that Dion is the greatest coach in the history of college football, it's one flipping game. One game. Yeah, Dion's there standing at the end in the playoffs. Okay, then we all can bow down to Coach Prime and salute him for the incredible genius that he is.
Wade Farr says, will Rule tell our team they can't do weed even though it's legal there?
Yeah, he will.
I don't think the NCAA allows you to do weed. I don't know. That sounds dumb to me because I'm sure the vast majority of college football players probably use marijuana in some form or another. I mean, if you talk to any professional football players, they'll tell you that weed is an excellent painkiller. I'm not a weed guy. I would not, I have serious chronic headaches from a brain injury, but I just haven't found that useful yet. Richard Fitzwell says, based on momentum alone, it doesn't bode well for Nebraska. I don't like our chances unless we have a solid run game. Well, I think the goal is to have a solid run game.
Yep, they're going to have to.
Yeah, they are, because they don't have a receiving core that's, well, proven, and they don't have a quarterback that is reliable, at least based on one game. So, Nebraska is going to have to work on part of that. Listen, if Nebraska is going to beat Colorado, it's pretty simple. They're going to have to keep the ball on the ground. They're going to have to run clocks, and they're going to have to extend possessions by picking up first downs. So when you were at the Nebraska-Minnesota game, how many possessions were there in the first quarter? Do you remember?
Were 3. Nebraska had 1.
Right. That's not very many possessions. So if Nebraska can honestly just march down the field, picking up 4.5, 5 yards a carry, and TCU averaged, I think, 7 yards a carry when they were running, then Nebraska is going to be fine in this game. So there you go. QCB Beatty, like Warren Beatty, says, all this talking for nothing. We need to play our best football and put our hearts into 4 quarters of real hard-nosed football. Otherwise, we're getting beat 56-10. I don't think we're going to beat that bad just because of what I said about extending possessions. But you're right. Hey, all this talking for nothing. I kind of enjoy this because I don't have any friends other than Todd, and I don't get out much. Last Boy 00 says John got dropped on his head as a kid.
No, you know what? It happened 8 years ago. My sister dropped me on a coffee table when I was 6 months old. Every time I bring it up, she gets all guilty, feeling guilty. It's been 60 years, for God's sakes. But Lax Boy, I had a heart attack 8 years ago. I was dead for 20 minutes. I have a brain injury that came along with a heart attack. But getting dropped on your head as a kid didn't help either. What else we got? I just froze. This is
on my personal life.
Actually, I'm really kind of excited about going forward with this show because we can't even keep up with the comments tonight. You and I, John, we've had to do very little work. I was a little concerned about whether or not we were prepared for this evening.
Jay Jasinski says Sims needs pass plays called that get the ball out quick so he can gain confidence and stretch plays that are not 3rd and 20. That's true. I think the other thing, everybody complained about the same plays I did in my post-game reaction video from the stand. Why did they run 3 pass plays late in the game when they could have run the clock? I think that I don't really want to see Nebraska throw the ball on first down because you get behind the chains. But when they threw the football on first down in that sequence, they were going for a kill shot. Now, if he'd have made that play, we'd have all gone, oh my God, our conversations would be so different that it would be amazing. But he didn't hit any of those passes in that sequence. Sorry. Keep going, Todd.
Alex Hansen says all this talk about Colorado's offense, but the defense was awful. Gives our offense the opportunity to find its footing and play the style Rule wants to. I think that's one of the equalizers in this game. Colorado was impressive. They They got a win that most people did not see coming. Deion Sanders has had a tremendous amount of attention ever since, he signed the contract to be at Colorado. And it's they're on a high right now, no question about it. But first of all, I will be shocked, and I'll eat my words if Colorado blows Nebraska off the field. I just don't believe that's going to happen. I believe that Nebraska is going to win this football game. I think that if Nebraska runs the football and controls the ball and doesn't make some of the same mistakes that they made against Minnesota, I think they're going to win. And simply because Colorado isn't playing very good defense from what it sounded like this weekend. So there's that. Let's pop Linda up here. Whoop, that's not Linda. Yeah.
Still muted. Dustin Waterman says, fuck yeah, Nebraska, and you guys rock. Thank you, Dustin. Fuck yeah. Go ahead.
Linda Wilkins says, how did the onside kill shot work for Frost? It didn't.
Nebraska scored that touchdown against Minnesota and went up 7-3, and I yelled onside kick, and the Nebraska fans next to me were somehow unhappy with me. Imagine that. That was at the Minnesota game, just so I didn't just do that out in the open. Okay, what else? Well,
I like this one here. I think this one, John, you need to comment on this.
Tristan Lindstedt says, I'm worried if we lose, this fan base is going to go into full-on meltdown mode. I think we're already there. I mean, Thursday, Nebraska Twitter is enormous. I don't know if you guys get on Twitter, but Nebraska Husker Twitter is just massive. And Thursday, it already went insane. And then Saturday, when Colorado didn't die or fall over dead or look like crap, then there was a giant, oh God, the world's ending kind of thing. And if we lose this game, it's going to be, it's going to be interesting. David Weiss says, so you think at Colorado at home after a big win is going to just lay over for Nebraska? Okay, then. No, I don't. I think Colorado, listen, Deion Sanders has a shit ton of energy. He's an energy guy. He talks a lot. I like Deion Sanders, except for one thing. He's the head coach of the Buffaloes, the Colorado Buffaloes, a team that as a Nebraskan, I'm swore to hate to my core. If he was the head coach of, I don't know, name another team that I don't hate to my core, then I would be going, all right, Deion Sanders, kick some ass. But, that's what we're doing here is we're defending our guys, and we're depending upon you Colorado people to defend your guy. So when he says we come in, he isn't. They're staying in Boulder. We come in to Boulder. Okay, there you go. I don't think Colorado is going to lay over, though. I think it's going to be a fun game because
I think it will be too. I think both teams are going to come out, and I think they're going to play hard. And I think that with the track record that Colorado fans have, they'll be assholes. They'll probably have to stop the game sometime in the second quarter and clear out a section of Colorado fans because they'll be throwing shit on the field at Nebraska fans. There will be a lot of tickets written for broken windshields and that kind of stuff because asshole Colorado fans are into vandalism and all that kind of stuff. So there'll be a lot of that stuff going on. But I expect it to be a really close game on the football field.
Nadia Price says it's going to be a long and sad bus ride back home on Saturday. Nadia. They have planes now. I'm old. Nobody rides a bus anymore. Unless, if you're a Division III team, maybe. But no, that's not. It's maybe a short, sad jet ride, but not a bus ride. Brian Hoffbar says if Nebraska loses, it will probably be by 7 or 3 points. Yes, that is true because that's what we do. That is what we do. Okay, what else we got? What is this true? Lock him up says I saw Colorado fans calling for violence on Twitter today. Shame. Well, that would be shameful. Nobody needs to get violent over any of this shit. It's college football. It should be fun. Brian Hula says, haven't even talked volleyball. Todd?
Was that amazing or not?
Didn't we talk about it last week on our show? I guess I did that with Greg. That's what I get confused by.
Our show was on Monday. They played volleyball on Wednesday.
That's right. Yeah. So on Wednesday night, Nebraska set the world record for the most people to ever attend a women's sporting event at 92,003. And, it was amazing. I guess it seems like so long ago now, Todd.
It does in a way, but I'll tell you what, to me, it was just one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, that many people would show up. And I guess what I really tuned into is I really tried to pay attention to the players and to John Cook. And I also listened really, really close to the former players. John, you and I were there when this whole thing was getting started, when volleyball was becoming important at Nebraska. And we had the opportunity to get to know a number of those women. We played intramural sports with quite a few of them. And, we kind of had a little bit of insight on what those student athletes did, to play at such a high level. And so to me, I just thought it was incredible. And when John Cook said he cried multiple times during the day, it's one of those moments in time when I think because of that event, I think it can truly impact a number of other things as far as women's sports go.
Red Wine 65 says the drones were neat, not very colorful. I was just impressed that they had them in the first place. Maybe that's just because I'm old and I don't take things like that for granted. Yeah. We didn't have no drones when I was young. We shot stuff into the air. Gunpowder in a pipe can make things fly a long fucking way, man. Okay, anyway, but it doesn't do all that circularly controlled stuff. It just flies up and then God knows where it comes down. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Cornstalk McGee says Colorado is still looking for money to pay Deion. They're not. Colorado fans that we make fun of donated $28 million to the Colorado Athletic Department to pay for Deion's salary. Now, here's the thing. We normally would make a lot of fun of them for having a crappy athletic department. But right now, at this moment in time, you have to give kind of kudos to Colorado because so far this is paying off. You saw Deion Sanders 368,000 times on TV last week. You're going to see him another 238,000 this week. So it's paying off for them. And what has to happen this weekend is Nebraska has to crush that. Just crush it. Stop it before it grows too big. And then the rest of the nation is infected with Colorado. Okay. I saw some comments about this show is dead. Well, if it is, you're still here commenting. I don't get that. What are your score predictions? I guess. Well, we are at 59 minutes. We usually try to go for an hour. I can guess what Todd's score condition is. Wait a minute.
I'm not even going to give a score prediction. Here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that Nebraska is going to beat Colorado. And we don't need more than that. And Joe, whoever the hell this guy is, he's been trying to pimp us all night. I don't even know what the truffle shuffle is. I have no flipping idea what it is. And don't give me this shit about mansplaining, Joe. I don't mansplain to anybody. So, get off of it. I said I'd bet you John's going to go out and have sex with Deion Sanders if Colorado wins. So there you go. There's your juvenile bet. There's your 7th grade locker room humor bet.
I am not. Right. What are your score predictions?
John, the hippie guy is extremely jealous of Coach Prime from Nadia Price.
Well, in some ways, I mean, he's making a lot more money than me.
He does
He get
Aflac commercials. He gets
he
to do Aflac commercials.
he
John,
does.
your life, think about how your life would be different if you were able to do Aflac commercials.
People would be calling me a hippie guy on TV. Okay, a score prediction from me. We usually do an hour, so we're coming to the end. Score prediction from me. I thought about this last week. We said the first 1-30 at Minnesota would win, and the teams didn't get anywhere close to that because Nebraska's defense shut down Minnesota, and then Nebraska didn't score a lot because they turned the ball over. So what's going to happen this week? Well, I'm going to say that Nebraska is going to win. And I said earlier that we're going to extend possessions. So here's what's going to happen. Nebraska will get, let's say, maybe 3 possessions. Well, you know what? Colorado's going to go real fast, so the clock isn't going to run for them. Nebraska is going to get 3 possessions in the first half, of which they score on 2. Same in the second half. That's 28. At least Colorado's probably good for at least 2 turnovers. So 50% on scoring on turnovers. That gives Nebraska 35 points. Colorado's going to score, let's say, 27 points, and Nebraska is going to win 35-27.
That's not far off from my typical 35-21, and you're giving me shit?
Mine is scientifically calculated in my head.
Well, I do appreciate what Jake says. Hypothetically speaking, if we beat Colorado, does this completely turn everything around as far as fans' perspective going for the first time in years? Yeah, Jake, I think it will turn. Right now, the loudest Nebraska fans are the most fickle Nebraska fans.
I'm going to go ahead.
No, and
wait, I wasn't done with that.
Well, go ahead, and then we'll come to this one.
Is it going to turn around things? Hell no, it isn't, because we're insane people. We're going to be fine until the next game we lose, and then we're going to go batshit insane all over again, because that's what we do. There you go. But if we don't win this weekend, God help us all. Go ahead.
Born led, corn fed. What's that say? I don't have my glasses.
Bone led, corn fed. Imagine if Dion coached Iowa.
Okay. Anybody who watches this show knows there's not a chance in hell that the University of Iowa would hire Deion Sanders. And if you don't know why, go back and read the headlines from a couple of years ago. There are 2 subgroups of people in this country that the University of Iowa has discriminated against extensively, and Deion belongs to one of them.
Okay. Let's say Tristan Lindstedt says, I think fans are more upset by the way that we lost. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we had the game in the bag, and we threw it away. David Weiss, I'm sorry, says, I want to hear Todd say how Nebraska will beat Michigan.
Well, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I don't think either of us would think right now that Nebraska could beat Michigan, because I think Michigan's just too damn good for us. Mike, God, I love you, Mike. You have a beautiful name, Mike. Sanders has never seen pressure Nebraska will bring. He won't have all day to look for a receiver. This is true. 2 teams this weekend in the first week were the only teams to finish without a tackle for loss. One of those was Colorado. The other one was not TCU, but TCU didn't put any pressure on the quarterback. I don't know what TCU was doing on defense, but they weren't playing defense to actually that made any sense. I think I said that earlier. Minnie Hunt says, amen, Mike. Good to see you, Minnie. Thanks for showing up. Eagle Livewire, that's a cool name. These 1-score losses are a tough pill to swallow. Yeah, they are. It's getting old. Samuel Smith, I just missed that. Samuel Smith says, how many black coaches has Nebraska had? 1, and that would be Mickey Joseph last season as an interim. I don't know. You care to address that, Todd? In football.
No, I'm not. But Nebraska hasn't had lawsuits based upon racial discrimination.
Let's see. Roger Moore says, Also, Roger Moore says also Sanders can't scramble. Now, I don't think he is that mobile. He's kind of shifty, but he's not really. He's not an Ethan K. He's not going to run himself out of danger if he gets in trouble. So, here's the thing. Here's what I think is going to be interesting, and I think this is going to be our last comment. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. And you know what? You Colorado fans can come back next week, win or lose, whatever happens. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Nebraska's defense plays against Colorado, because Colorado has more than Travis Hunter. They do have some very good talent at receiver. I think, as we've seen, they have a very talented quarterback. So are you going to blitz? Are you going to leave your defensive backs on an island with their receivers? I think we're probably going to find that out early. If our receivers can cover a guy like Travis Hunter our corners can cover Travis Hunter on their own. And what they do, or I think early in this game on defense, is going to determine a lot of the way the game is going to go, or at least how Nebraska approaches defense. Because you can play defense like balls out, we're going to kill you, or you can do defense we're going to sit back here and keep everything in front of us, and you're not going to get any big plays on us. And we're just going to see what happens. You're going to get a score, and then we're going to keep the ball for 12 minutes. That's one of those two things. What's going to happen? That's where the most interesting part of this game coming up, I think, is for me, is what is Nebraska's defense? Because it's pretty easy to say what's Nebraska's offense going to do against Colorado's defense. Is what Nebraska's defense is going to do against Colorado. I don't think anybody here and anybody out there in Huskerland would argue that we don't have an excellent defensive coordinator in Tony White. And I have to quit because my English is starting to really go away. So there you go. Todd, any closing arguments?
No, I'm looking forward to the game Saturday. It's Colorado. That's always an emotional game. I said a week or so ago, in the fourth quarter, there'll be more Nebraska fans in the stadium than there will be Colorado fans, and I'm going to stand by that. If Colorado wins, they win, and we'll sit here and we'll eat crow. That's the way it goes. But I got a gut feeling that Nebraska is going to win this game.
Yeah, gut feeling. Gut feeling, you sons of bitches. Good night, Todd.
Good night, John.